Well, I think it's really about fear, because I think that everybody has a completion to this sentence. I'm afraid if people think I look old, then therefore, and for different people it's different things. Some are afraid they'll lose their job or never get a job or not get a maid or no one's going to listen to them or whatever. And that fear, my position is that that fear existed before your face started changing.
In the 1980s, Justine Bateman was America's biggest teen star, captivating 55 million viewers a week as Mallory Keaton. Then, at the absolute peak of her fame, she vanished from Hollywood. People said she was washed up, that she'd lost her talent. But the truth is far more brutal. It wasn't a fade out, it was an escape. Hollywood had pushed Justine to the breaking point, and her final decision wasn't about saving her career, it was about saving her own life. The foundation of Justine Bateman's prolonged tragedy did not begin on a soundstage, but within the walls of her own home. Her parents, Kent Bateman, a film producer, and Victoria Elizabeth, a flight attendant, were familiar with the entertainment world, but their relationship with their children transformed dramatically when those children began to show acting talent. They ceased to be just parents and instead took on the role of professional managers, a shift that prioritized finance over family. This change became undeniable when Justine's younger brother, Jason Bateman, secured a role on the popular television series Little House on the Prairie in 1981 at the young age of 12. Kent and Victoria quickly discovered that managing their children's burgeoning careers was far more lucrative than their own jobs. And from that point forward, the entire family dynamic was permanently altered. Jason Bateman himself would later describe how his parents began to treat him and his sister not as their children, but as little business partners, or even as union employees, where discussions about love and support were replaced by negotiations over contracts and earnings. This transactional relationship was painfully confirmed when 16-year-old Justine landed the career-defining role of Mallory Keaton in 1982. Instead of celebrating their daughter's incredible achievement by keeping her close and protecting her from the industry's dangers, her family responded with the cold efficiency of business managers closing a deal. Her father immediately began searching for an apartment for her to live in by herself, while her mother started packing her belongings. Her brother Jason, far from being sad about his sister leaving, excitedly drew up plans to renovate her bedroom for his own use. Their collective actions sent a clear and heartbreaking message. She was no longer just their daughter, but a valuable asset that needed to be deployed independently to maximize its earning potential. They effectively pushed a 16-year-old girl out into the notoriously difficult world of Hollywood, treating her less like family and more like a product that had been successfully sold. For Justine, this was a profound act of abandonment that stripped her of her remaining childhood and destroyed any sense of family security, leaving a deep psychological wound of loneliness and conditional love that would fester for the next 15 years. Once Family Ties premiered, it became an instant cultural phenomenon, and Justine Bateman was thrust into the center of an overwhelming storm of fame. Her face was everywhere, from magazine covers to talk shows, making her one of the most recognizable people in America. This immense celebrity, however, proved to be a double-edged sword, as it brought with it an unbearable level of public scrutiny. Every aspect of her physical appearance, from her weight to her hairstyle, was endlessly dissected and commented on by the media and the public. For a teenager already dealing with the trauma of feeling abandoned by her family, this relentless pressure to maintain a perfect image was too much to bear. In a desperate attempt to reclaim some control over a life that felt completely unmanageable, she turned to the one thing she felt she could command: her food intake. This coping mechanism quickly spiraled into a devastating decade-long battle with a complex eating disorder. She suffered from not one, but three distinct conditions simultaneously. Anorexia nervosa, characterized by self-starvation. Bulimia nervosa, involving cycles of binge eating followed by purging, and compulsive overeating. Her daily existence became a secret, punishing cycle of self-destruction. This horrific routine became so ingrained in her life that it followed her to work on the set of Family Ties. In between filming scenes, while her co-stars were resting or reviewing their lines, Justine would frequently have to rush to the bathroom to secretly purge. She became so adept at hiding her illness that for 10 long years, not a single person from the cast or crew, nor any member of her own family, ever realized the hell she was going through. This created a painful internal conflict where she was publicly celebrated by the world as a beautiful icon, while privately she looked in the mirror and felt nothing but hatred for her own face and body. The greatest tragedy of this period was that this life of constant struggle became her reality, her state of normal, because she had been famous since she was 16 and had never known an adult life free from the suffocating pressures of Hollywood. While millions of viewers saw the happy and carefree Mallory Keaton on their screens, the actress portraying her was living in a gilded prison, silently destroying herself behind a flawless public smile. As Justine Bateman approached her late teens, the storyline for her character Mallory Keaton introduced a new chapter, preparing for and attending college. On screen, Mallory, who was never depicted as a strong student, eventually found her place at an arts college, pursuing her creative passions. This fictional narrative was a cruel irony, because in her real life, Justine was being actively denied the very same dream she was portraying. She deeply craved a college education, viewing it not just as an academic pursuit, but as an escape route to a normal life, a chance to discover who she was outside the shadow of her famous character. She pursued this goal with serious intent, researching universities and programs, and even approaching trusted producers on the Family Ties, set to ask for letters of recommendation. She was taking all the necessary steps to build a future for herself beyond acting. Her hopes, however, were abruptly and coldly extinguished by the studio system. When word of her college plans reached the executives, she was summoned to a meeting where the show's line producer, Carol James, delivered the verdict without any attempt to soften the blow. "You can't go to college," James stated directly. "You are under contract to Paramount Studios." The finality of the statement was devastating. A shocked Justine tried to negotiate, proposing a compromise where her role would be reduced to that of a semi-regular character, which would allow her to attend school part-time while continuing to work on the show. It was a reasonable offer that demonstrated her commitment, but the studio flatly refused. They were unwilling to compromise on the availability of one of their biggest stars. Her value to them was as the full-time Mallory Keaton, not as a part-time student. This decision inflicted a lasting psychological wound, forcing her to come to set each day and act out the life that she herself was forbidden from living. The experience planted a seed of deep resentment toward Hollywood, a feeling of being trapped and betrayed that would grow over the next quarter century and become a key factor in her eventual decision to leave the industry entirely. Even while Family Ties continued to be a ratings powerhouse, Justine and her team were looking for ways to transition her career to the big screen, a common goal for television stars seeking long-term success. The year 1988 was positioned to be her major breakout year, with two significant opportunities. The first was the prestigious honor of hosting Saturday Night Live, a platform that was expected to showcase her versatility and comedic talent beyond the confines of her sitcom character. The performance, however, was met with harsh criticism from both audiences and reviewers, who felt she was stiff and unable to escape the persona of Mallory Keaton, reinforcing the damaging narrative that she was only capable of playing one type of role. Later that same year, a major film project titled Satisfaction was released, a movie specifically designed by industry heavyweights NBC and Aaron Spelling to be her star vehicle. In the film, she played the lead singer of an all-girl rock band. And in a notable twist of fate, one of her supporting co-stars was a little-known young actress named Julia Roberts. Despite the significant backing and promotion, Satisfaction was a commercial and critical failure, dealing a severe blow to Justine's budding film career. The irony of the situation became painfully clear in the following years. While Justine's career momentum began to stall, her former co-star, Julia Roberts, shot to global superstardom with the 1990 film Pretty Woman. This stark contrast highlighted the unforgiving nature of Hollywood. When Family Ties finally concluded its run in 1989, Justine lost the safety net that the show had provided. Without the steady role of Mallory Keaton, she faced the harsh reality that the industry was beginning to move on without her. Film and television offers became less frequent, and the roles she was offered were smaller and less significant. Her career was not ending with a sudden crash, but rather through a slow and painful erosion, leaving her with the feeling of being prematurely retired by the very industry to which she had dedicated her youth. After years of struggling with smaller roles, Justine secured another chance at television success with the sitcom Men Behaving Badly, which ran from 1996 to 1997. Although the show had its fans, it was canceled after just 2 seasons, a development that proved to be the final professional blow. In the aftermath of the show's cancellation, the acting offers stopped coming almost completely. In conversations with her agents to understand why her career had come to a dead end, she was confronted with a brutal and unambiguous ultimatum from the industry. The problem, they told her, was her face. She no longer possessed the youthful appearance of the teen idol she had been in the 1980s. And in an industry obsessed with youth, her natural aging was seen as a career-ending flaw. The message was explicit. If she wanted to continue working as an actress, she would have to undergo extensive plastic surgery. This was not a gentle suggestion. It was a non-negotiable condition for future employment. To underscore the seriousness of the demand, her agents arranged consultations for her with 3 of Beverly Hills' top plastic surgeons. These meetings were a dehumanizing ordeal. The doctors treated her not as a person, but as a renovation project, using pens to draw lines directly on her face, pointing out all the flaws that needed to be corrected. They proposed a long list of procedures, including eyelid surgery, a brow lift, and the removal of skin and fat from around her eyes and jawline. One doctor delivered the ultimate insult, telling her she was a candidate for the whole package. In that moment, Justine realized that her talent, her experience, and her history in the business meant nothing anymore. Hollywood only wanted a specific, ageless look, and it was willing to surgically erase her real face to achieve it. Faced with this horrifying ultimatum, Justine made a life-altering choice. She refused. She completely rejected the idea of allowing her face to be cut and altered to fit the industry's cruel standards, deciding she would no longer play by their rules. The consequences of her defiance were immediate and severe. All potential acting jobs vanished, and her agents, seeing her unwillingness to comply, began pushing her toward reality television and hosting gigs, roles she also declined. By choosing her own identity over a surgically altered one, Justine Bateman was effectively excommunicated from the world of acting. By the year 2000, having faced the final, unforgivable demand from the industry she had served for so long, Justine Bateman made the definitive decision to walk away entirely. This was not a quiet fade into obscurity, but a series of deliberate actions designed to sever her ties with Hollywood for good. Her first move was deeply symbolic. She allowed her Screen Actors Guild (SAG) membership card to expire. For an actor, this card is a license to work, and letting it lapse was a clear declaration that she was no longer in the business. Next, she made a direct call to her manager and stated plainly, "I'm done acting." It was a final, unequivocal end to her career. To prove to herself and to the world that her identity and survival were not dependent on Hollywood, she immediately founded a new venture, a fashion company called Justine Bateman Designs, which specialized in hand-knitted apparel. This business was more than a new career path. It was a powerful statement of independence and self-worth, closing a painful 15-year chapter of her life, defined by external control and personal suffering. Leaving Hollywood was the first step, but the journey to heal the deep wounds of her past required dedicated work. Recognizing that her long-term eating disorder was a form of addiction, she entered a 12-step recovery program, a structured environment that finally allowed her to confront the disease that had controlled her for a decade. At the same time, she embraced a Christian faith, which provided her with spiritual strength and a path towards self-forgiveness and inner peace. A new, healthier life began to take shape. In 2001, she married Mark Fluent, and together they had 2 children, allowing her to experience the stable and loving family environment she had never known. Yet, the college dream that had been stolen from her at 17 remained. In 2012, at the age of 46, she took the remarkable step of enrolling as a full-time student at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. She chose to study the challenging field of computer science and digital media management, and in 2016, at the age of 50, she graduated with her degree. This was not just an academic achievement. It was the powerful act of reclaiming her stolen future. In her new life as a writer and director, she has used her painful experiences to advocate for others, publishing 2 books, Fame, The Hijacking of Reality, and Face, 1 Square Foot of Skin, which critically examine the destructive nature of celebrity culture and the immense pressure placed on women to fight the natural process of aging. In conclusion, Justine Bateman's story serves as a powerful indictment of the destructive machinery of Hollywood. The relentless series of tragedies, from the emotional abandonment by her family to the decade-long secret battle with an eating disorder, the denial of her educational dreams, and the final, dehumanizing ultimatum to surgically alter her face, pushed her to her absolute limit. The industry that built her up as a teen idol was the same one that exploited her youth, judged her body, controlled her future, and was ready to discard her when she no longer fit its impossible standards. However, her story is ultimately not one of victimhood. Justine Bateman did not simply disappear because she was weak. She made a conscious and courageous choice to withdraw in order to save herself. She chose her well-being and personal integrity over the fleeting promises of fame. Her departure from Hollywood was not an end, but a true beginning, launching a profound journey of healing that allowed her to rediscover herself, build a loving family, achieve her academic dreams, and transform her trauma into a powerful voice for change. Today, she is no longer defined as Mallory Keaton, the television star. She is Justine Bateman, a writer, a director, a college graduate, and a resilient woman who fought her way out of a toxic system to reclaim complete control of her own life and narrative.